Hello friends of .NET, I'm Immo Landworth and you can find me on Twitter at TerraJobs. In today's episode I'm going to talk about a better REPL experience. So the last time I demoed this already, where the idea is that when we enter commands on the command line, we want a much better experience from what we have today. So in particular what I want to do is I want to have some sort of syntax highlighting so it actually looks somewhat nicer. But more importantly, when you make mistakes, which especially when you have multi-line commands, can often happen, you want to just go back, do the history, up arrow, down arrow kind of thing, and then just edit the submission and then fix the things you have and then resubmit that. This is in particular interesting when we move forward because we will add other constructs to our language like functions and maybe even more control flow constructs where editing becomes much more interesting. I mean, of course, we can also add our own editor or something like that, but that would be a much more sizable work item. Same with integrating our language into an existing editor. So rather than that, I think I'd rather spend like 300-400 lines of code maybe to have a REPL experience that deserves the thing to be called REPL and not just some really bad implementation of console.readline. All right, so enough is enough. Let's just jump right in. So first things first, we should start with our PRs again. I received a bunch of PRs, so let me just go over them, and from there on we can go to our source code. It's an interesting one. It's from Cameron. That's a good idea, so maybe we just add that one. I didn't even know you could do that. I thought it's completely based off of file extensions. Something new every day. All right. Yeah, so this one is going into the episode branch. Let me first rebase the branch to be against master because I already added my episode branch yesterday. Let me first read what he said. This matters. So this is from Lucas. This matters if the upper bound expression has side effects. Targeted this PR to your episode branch that it's not merged yet. Yeah, that's a good one. So basically, our for statement has two expressions, right? A lower bound and an upper bound. And currently, we just reevaluate the upper bound every single time we do our comparison, which is a really bad idea if this expression has side effects, right? You could imagine this is a function call, and I don't know, it mutates shared state, prints to the console or whatever, right? In this case, it's just an expression that evaluates to the current value of A, but also decrements the current value of A. And so instead of lowering it like that, we will introduce a variable here and then use the variable. That's a very common pattern when you lower things that you need to introduce temporary variables in order to do that. So upper bound symbol, upper bound declaration. Yeah, and so that is not a problem with the lower bound because the lower bound is only used once, right? The lower bound is only used here to initialize the variables, so it's only used once, so there's no point in adding a local symbol for that. So what do we have here? Upper bound symbol, type of int, upper bound declaration. Okay, let me say it's an assignment expression between the variable, the bound binary expression or variable expression, and then just a plus, and the literal again. And then the result is variable declaration, upper bound declaration, while statement. Yeah, that looks good to me. I suppose the tests are passing. That's funny. Yep, okay. You would think that yeah, I guess changing the branch has the side effect of removing the CI results. Funny. All right. Yeah, honestly, Lucas, I've had the same thought when I was writing the code last time, that I thought, like, that is not intuitive. Yes. Okay, let me rebase this against master now. Yeah, so instead of jump if true. Yeah. So if condition is jump if true. So the only thing is that does not sound right here. Let me first go over the other ones. So go to false is true, false. Go to false is false now. Go to true is just this one now. Yeah. So that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. So everything makes sense except for this line here. So we say, so we want to jump if the condition is true, and we jump if true, or the condition is not true and we jump if false. One, two, three, four. I guess in this case, let's remove this one line. Yeah. So Nicola is saying this should say not equals. Oh, I see now. He's saying condition equals jump if true. Never mind. I think that's the part I didn't see. Yes, 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 yes. So we should jump if the condition evaluates to the same thing. No, that actually is correct. Never mind. That is cleaner. Yes. So Nicola, why do you think this should say not equals? Because this one here is the case where we want to jump. This one is the case where we don't want to jump. This is basically the fall through case. So I think this is actually correct. Well, yes, Nicola, kind of. However, like given that he changed it, so this is no longer jump if false, right? This is jump if true. So like you have to negate them, right? So it would be condition and jump if true, or not condition and not jump if true. Yes, that's what I thought as well. Yep. All right. So after some doing. All right. We are getting somewhere this morning. Yeah, no slaver. I think that's the same thing that I discovered in some of my previous episodes, and I was just too lazy to do it. Well, it's just a crazy diff. I mean, yes. All right, that makes total sense to me. It is against master. All right, let's do this. Hello. All right, so now we are down to no PRs, right? Yes, perfect. All right, git pull. So hopefully we didn't break anything by merging PRs. We did not. All right, let's check out our new branch for episode 9 beta REPL. All right, I think the first thing we need to do here in order to make our lives a little bit easier is to extract the actual REPL from the rest of the system here. So there's a bunch of stuff that happens here. A good chunk of this has just to do with processing our own language, keeping track of which variables we have, and basically what is language specific from the thing that is just purely the output manipulation. All right, let's do this. All right, so let me see what's going on here. So let me first extract maybe some sort of base class here. Let's call this REPL. Public void run. So if you think about it, like what's the key flow here of the REPL? Actually, never mind. How about we just take the entirety of this one here, move that in here. I think now I'm missing some braces. We call this public void run. Make this public. And now, let's just say this one here. Let's just say var REPL equals new REPL. REPL.run. Yeah, so this doesn't have much, it doesn't do much for us except that we now have a separate thing. But what I really want to do is I want to separate the REPL from the language specific stuff. So I want to have another type here called internal sealed class Minsk REPL which inherits from REPL and is handling with the language specific stuff. Which is interesting, right? So if you think about it, what do we want to do? So yeah, maybe that's premature. No, I think that's the better way of doing it. So yeah, let's try to extract some things here into methods. I think that would help. So there's a bunch of stuff going on here, right? And I think the problem is that this is all in one method, which makes it somewhat harder to extract. So let's think about how we can move this maybe into separate methods, and then we can lift them into the derived type. So I think the first thing I want to do is that currently the whole input handling is super weird. So we effectively read a line, and then we decide whether we take the line or whether we don't. So for example, basically the way we do it, we say append this line, do a toString, and then parse it. And if this had diagnostics, then we continue this thing. So that's a bit of a weird thing to do. So how about we just have a private, let's call the string builder input builder. And then we just do something like protected bool is complete submission string text, which we determine as we've done. If we've done this here, we say so if string is null or empty text, and then we say return false. Otherwise, we parse it, and then we say if syntax tree has any diagnostics, then we say return false. Otherwise, we say return true. Something like that. So instead of doing what we do here, we can now do is complete submission. So if not is complete submission text continue. So I think we can probably take all of this and move this out to evaluate. Yeah, so this keeps track of the compilation, which we also need to handle as state. So let's say private compilation previous. So let's move this to a field. Easiest hack for that is renaming this guy and then deleting it. Let's try this again. Let's call this evaluate. So there's some state here, right? So yeah, I guess we should do the same thing before we do that. All right, so let's have, this is the Minsk state, if you will, private bool, show tree, private bool, what is that? Show program, and then private dictionary variables. All right, so let's rename this guy, let's rename this guy, let's rename this guy, and then of course let's rename this guy here to, I guess this is, after all, the text builder. Okay, so I don't know why control that doesn't work when the selection is larger. It seems like a bug. Evaluate submission. Bum, 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 bum. Private, no, this should be probably protected. All right. Now this is getting somewhere. I like that already. So now let's do this a little bit different. So let's say, instead of doing this here, maybe we should do something like this. If input starts with, and then we say evaluate meta command for input. Let's make this protected as well. And then of course we have to say console write line invalid command okay. So how about we move these guys now here and we make them overrides. And those could, this would be abstract. Actually, same thing here. We would move this here. We would say this is override. Actually, let's make this abstract, because quite frankly, I'm not entirely sure what the control for this should be. All right, so that requires also these guys here to go here. And then, of course, the type itself has to be abstract. And then hopefully yeah, that guy should also go here. Same thing, it's an override. And then we say virtual. And we can just say here base evaluate meta command for input. And then why not make this a switch? Seems more logical anyway. New dictionary, these guys. And probably that could be read only, because I don't think I ever assigned to that, right? What's your problem here? I guess I don't know what I'm doing, apparently. Copy and paste things twice. All right, so does this still work, or did we break anything? Yeah, I think we crashed because partially I think the warning is interesting. So the text builder is never assigned to always be default value null, yeah, which is not what we want probably. So let's just see what happens here. Yeah, so text builder dot length is null, so that's not going to fly. So new string builder, and probably can be read only, would be my guess. Yes, all right. Okay, this still works. Enter still works. What happens when we say 12 times 12? That also works. Okay, so the key logic works as we expected it. Now let's move these guys out to separate types, files, I mean. And now we can focus our attention on just making the REPL. Yeah, that's an interesting one, Frederick. I don't know. When I tested it earlier, it seems to work. Maybe I just talk less today, and then there's a, I forgot what the audio term for that is. Maybe I haven't configured it correctly. Switch from Edge to Firefox. Everything is fine in Firefox. Well, what can I say? All right, so let's think about this for a second. So what we want to do at a high level is we need, in order for us to get this editor experience up and running, we need to replace this part here with something that actually intercepts keys directly. So we can actually do something like, well, if you hit up or down arrow, we just move it to the previous line. You can edit that previous line. So we need to change the control flow here quite significantly. So I think what we want to do, because if you think about it, is we are editing a document, right? And the document might be multiple lines. And when you edit a line, let's say you start typing or you start deleting, you want to redraw that particular line. So I think what I want to do is I want to do a typical document view kind of architecture where you have a document and the document has notifications and then the screen can update. Because I mean, if I look at my notes, there's a decent amount of keyboard input that we need to handle. We have to handle basically typing. You know, when you hit escape, you want to clear the line. You know, backspace, home, end, left, right, up, down, tab, page up, page down, control enter, control backspace, control delete. So there's a decent amount of keyboard input that we need to handle, and like it's, yeah. So we want to, I think, make sure that we can do that in the same way. So the reason I'm thinking so much is because I've written the code before, but the way I've written it, I didn't like it. So I'm thinking to myself, I can do better than that. So let's try to find a better way of doing it. So actually, the code I'm writing today, I actually haven't written before. So this is going to be a fun learning experience for all of us. I'd be surprised as much as you guys when this whole thing works. So I think, honestly, like, what's the best kind of representation for a document? So probably I'm thinking observable collection of string. The only thing is, do I want them to be global? Or do I want to pass them in? That's the other fun question. It might actually be easier if they are local variables. So instead of doing this, let's think about for the structure for a second. So this one is basically reduced by something like edit submission. Actually, no. This whole thing is basically the editing a single submission, right? So maybe we should have that method first before we do anything else. Private string edit submission. Something like that. So yeah, so how do we signal that we are done? I guess we could say that is done by returning null. So there's a few things here. So yeah, so we have That's the thing I think we need to separate first. So this thing basically does line-by-line processing, right? And then every single line, we basically decide, is this a continuation of the previous submission or is this a new submission? So if the length of the text builder is 0, then it's a new submission, otherwise it's a continuation. The problem with that approach is that that does not lead itself to something where we can easily edit multiple lines. So instead of doing that, I think I want to have the whole loop look differently, where basically the outer loop is just the it's basically just the submission thing, and then the inner loop is effectively build me a submission, and that might be multiple lines or just one line. I think that would be easier. So in that sense, let's say while true, yeah, we need the whole thing here. This is the whole inner part of the loop. Yes, instead of doing this, we say return text. And then this one never executes, which is fine. Because I also, so who's using this guy? Yeah, that's what I thought. I mean, I don't think that should even be a field, to be honest. So let's say this is var text equals edit submission. If text is null, return. String builder, text builder equals new string builder. And then we probably want to call this text builder. I think now we're getting somewhere. So if the line is blank, yeah, I think in that case we say return null, because that is effectively, it's the first line and we don't have any input. That means we're done. If we start with a hashtag, we evaluate the meta command and then continue. Otherwise, we append the line, we get the whole string, and then we ask whether that's a complete submission. If the answer is not, then continue, otherwise return the text. I think this looks fine to me. Let's try this quickly to make sure that it actually is the flow I want. Okay, that works. That works too, and enter also works. All right, so that looks like something we can work with. So now the document is already local. Yeah, so I think the first thing I want to do is I want to separate this out into two areas. So if you think about it here, what we do is we basically have a current document, which is a local variable, and then the way we print is that when we ask for the input, we do a console read line, which basically outputs the line as you type it, and then we shift the whole view down, going to the next line, and then the editing happens again. If we want to support editing, then effectively what we want to do is we want to have a current document. The document itself then is repainted effectively every single time this loop, well, I guess so basically the way this loop works, instead of doing read line, we do read key, and then we process the key, and the process then itself may update the document, and the document gets repainted. And that might be one line or multiple lines or whatever. So I think that's the way to look at that. So for us, in order to model this, what I think is we need this thing called a view. That might be the easiest way to do that. And instead of going here, let me put the view right here. Private sealed class submission view. Yeah, I don't want to do that. The submission view will be instantiated with an observable collection of string, which is our, let's say, document. Submission document, let's say. Right, and then this guy needs this one here. And then we say, well, if this guy changes, collection changed. Oh boy, now I have to write that handler myself. Submission document changed. All right, that's much better. All right. For a second, I was afraid they make me type this. Because I'm so used to the Visual Studio plus equals tab completion that I think I never typed an event handler ever in my life. So for now, let's just ignore the event arcs and let's just repaint the entire document every single time, because why not? So the one thing you need to remember is when we get instantiated, we just basically remember the read-only. We say this is int top, and then let's say private read-only int. Well, let's just remember top, because that's all we need, I think. We say top is console cursor top. Yeah, maybe we should call it cursor top. Cursor top. And then we just say render. So we say console dot set cursor position 0 with cursor top, and then we say for each var line in submission document we say console dot let's say right line line, right? That's not quite what we want, because what we really want is this one here. Boom, boom, boom. Console color green. And then we say reset color. And then the remainder. So we say var is first, true. It is first. Private int last height maximum rendered something like that. So the idea here is, if someone deletes a line, we need to blank it out. So we need to remember, effectively, let's say this is 0. And then for each line we render, well, let's say current var line count. Line count, and then we can just say line count is 0. And then we don't need this. And then we say basically var blank line is new string space for console window width, I think. And then we say number of blank lines, that is the maximum rendered line count minus line count, right? If that is larger than 0, then we say while number of blank lines is blank line. And then we say max rendered line count is line count. Maybe I should just call this rendered line count. Something like that. I'm not entirely sure that's what we want, but it looks close to me. Yeah, so how do we do this now here? What's the easiest way to success? Let's do this for now, so we don't lose the code. And then we just say, okay, we have a document. Var document is new observable collection of string. Then we say var true. And then we say var view equals new. Submission view for the document. Then we say var key equals console read key. Intercept return setter to display the pressed key in the console window. No, we don't want to display the key because we handle the handling ourselves. And then we say, I guess, handle key for document, and I guess for view. something like that. So I think our view needs something like need to remember the cursor position. So where are we? I guess that is public int current line. Yeah, so the funny thing is, we also need to handle the cursor position. And the cursor position on the screen is not the same cursor position that we have internally. So basically we need to keep track of where edits would occur. So how about this? We just have public int current line. And we have a public int current character. Get set. Now, of course, when those guys change, we need to actually update the cursor position on screen. So I think the other thing we want to do is we say console set cursor cursor visible. What is that? Cursor visible false. Cursor visible true. It's basically like when we render the whole thing out, we don't want to see the cursor jump all over the place. So we just hide it where it is. And then we have to say update cursor position. Which would basically say console cursor top is cursor top plus cursor left would be current character 2 plus current character. Why 2 plus? Well, because we have our magic indentation character here and our let's say update cursor position, and then let's do this slightly smarter. So and say if the current position is not the same as radio, then set it to radio and then update the cursor position. Something like that. Update cursor position, and then if they are not the same, then set it and then update cursor position. Something like that. Yeah, I know, that's the thing that I noticed earlier as well. I don't know where this comes from. I have to reboot my machine, but I really don't want to do this right now. All right, so I think it's time to handle the key. So what do you want to handle first? So I think the first thing that we should do is key. Yeah, so if key modify, what is it? Modifiers are default console modifiers, meaning when we don't have pressed anything down. Then we should say case. What do we want to handle? We want to handle probably console key enter. Case console key left arrow, right arrow, up arrow, down arrow. Well, let's just do these for now. Let's see what ends up happening, and then we say default break if key char is what is it? Yeah, I can probably do this, right? I think when I remember correctly, space was the first printable one. Then we say handle typing for document and view. And let me say this is handle down arrow. Handle up arrow. Handle right arrow. Handle left arrow. And then let's say handle enter. All right, I would say in this case we say document. So what is it? Line index is view. Current line index bar start is view current character, and then we just say view. Document line index equals document line index insert at start, and then we say text is yeah probably need the key char, right? Yeah, let's do this, and let's call this the actual text. Right, and then we would say view current character plus plus, right? Right, I guess we should say text of length, but I don't think that matters much. Okay, left arrow should just be If it's bigger than that, do that. If it's less than document view current line index, line.length, plus plus. If view line index, well, current line, then we do that. Otherwise, for this one we say as long as this is document count -1 plus plus. Yeah, so what should enter do? For now, let's just say we insert a new line. That's not entirely right, but let's just say we add a new blank line. And then we say view current character is 0 and view current line index is document count -1. Okay. So after we have processed this thing, yeah, I think this is also handled where we want to do the check whether the submission is complete. So we would do this. So we say var document text equals string.join for the documents and then environment new line for this one, and then we say if submission is complete submission document text. In that case, we would say document text equals document text, and then we say return. So that would mean that we would store something like this. You would say private string, let's call this submission text. And then we would say while submission text is null, we always start with submission text being null. Right, and then we say submission text is submission text. All right, let's see what happens when we run this. I'm very skeptical. Errors. Edit submission. Interesting. Oh. return submission text. Yeah, that's kind of a little bit unclean, isn't it? But yeah, let's just go for now. All right, that's great. That is interesting. So we need to, I guess, you always want to add one line into it, otherwise it's a bit weird. And I suppose we also always want to start with rendering that guy out, which would mean that this guy starts with render. Alright, that's not horrible. Now I type a character, that works. Type another one, that works. I hit enter, that works. Okay. Don't handle the case of multiple consecutive blank lines. That's fine. You can just have one command that is forcing the completion. And we should probably extract that guy here, because I just noticed that I can't do shift operations. So we should probably leave that here and say if this is this one, that is fine. And then we add another one here. Else if key modifiers is console modifiers control, and then we say handle control enter, which we just say that completes so we can always complete the submission. So if I say this one, fix, when I hit enter, that would mean here we would always have to say when we reach this point, let's just say console right line for now. So every time we leave this loop here, we need another right line. So okay, that makes sense. That works. What happens now when I say okay, that also works. And if I say, I know I have like syntax errors here. When I get never out of this until I hit Control Enter, in which case we go out of that. Okay. Yeah, I think we want to handle the blank case. Maybe we just say bool and say done. So instead of doing that, we say done is false, while not done. And then we say here, this is always going to be string.join for environment, new line, and document. And then we can say done equals true. Yes, we can do that. We can now say if document, well, I guess the result is actually could just say edit submission, and we go here and say if string is null or empty, then we return. So there should really. Oh, I guess that's true. Yes, never mind. I was right, because now we always have a blank line, I think. So we would say if document count is 1 and document string is and document 0 length is 0, return null. I don't think we need to change this at all. You can just say if text equals null. Really? What is my problem? Oh, my problem is that I'm not done. That's what my problem is. So, interesting. I think that's the problem, right? Yes. And let me guess, then this one would have also probably just worked for it, right? Where is it? Edit submission. Do we need this at all? Yes, because we do. All right, so, well, I guess, no, we wouldn't have needed that if we would have said this. String is null or empty text. Yes, all right. So now the whole flow is somewhat on the same side. Edit submission all, we can delete now, because we no longer need that. No, actually we still need to add this part here. Which, how would we do that? I think this one does need to live somewhere else. Yeah, probably the easiest way to do that is to say this and say if not text contains environment new line and text starts with this one, then we say handle or evaluate meta command for text. Else we say evaluate this guy. Alright, so that means if I say CLS, interesting. If it not contains a new line, let me guess. We actually have a new line at the end. That will be sad, but what is text? Oh, it's just text. What? Okay, in this case it actually works, yes. So explain to me how this is. Oh, I see. No, we need to handle this elsewhere. Yeah, we need to do that probably here. Probably where we say is complete submission. So we could say if submission context starts with this, or it's a complete submission. Okay, that worked. Yeah, we still don't have table backspace, so let's do that, because that is somewhat on the annoying side. Yeah, so this, how do I clear the search thing? That's bothering me. Just close the document, is that how that works? Apparently not. Well, I guess I now have some random characters in my input. Well, characters, random highlights. All right, that looks cleaner now. All right, let's handle the other keys. How hard can it be? So we already said, so typing we already have done. Enter we have done. Backspace, so let's handle that one. Backspace. Handle backspace. And then we also should handle delete. Handle Boom, 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 boom. And then edit submission old. We can finally kill. All right, handle backspace. What would that look like? Well, I guess it's similar to typing in the sense that you need something like that. And then we just say this one would be, so var before would be well, let's just say var line. So that would be line substring 0 start -1. Var after is line substring start. And then this one is just before plus after. And then we definitely go back one character, right? So if start is 0, and then we just say return for now. What are the chances that this is right? Well, okay, so I can go back. I just can't delete the character. So is it this one? Typical ±1. No. What? Am I hitting the right thing? I am. 4 is empty. So that seems reasonable. Four is 1. After is nothing. That seems very reasonable to me. Oh, I'm an idiot. I am an idiot. Yes, so now that worked all fine. The problem is that our repainter here not only has to handle the remaining blank lines, it also has to handle the actual line. So we would have to say we need to render this one, and then we have to say var remaining spaces. Well, let's just say console write new string console window with minus line dot length. Probably have to do that. All right, so that has worked. Great, now we can actually type. So handle delete is, I guess, similar, except that we delete the other way. Well, except in this case, it is more if start is Right, if you're at the end, then nothing happens. Otherwise, we say well, it's this one. Yes, and in this case, we don't change the cursor position. Oops, we did it from the wrong method. Now it's the one. Okay. Okay, so this gives us these guys. So backspace delete, home and end, we should probably handle. Home. Well, that's easy, right? Document current character is 0. And then current character is document for view current line. It would be one path. Okay. Yep, it works. So maybe, yeah, there seems to be some issue with my computer. I think there's some, no, I think the mic is connected properly. You should not the mic. All right, so let me try this. The polygonal rendering and automated Oh, I see. here. Two issues. So first of all, I cannot go past the last character. So bug. And when I go down and jump here, then I check the footprint again. Alright, so cases. So first of all, so by the way, the reason we have an extra line is because I do a right line, but the problem is as soon as you put in a character on the last column, it automatically wraps it around. And so since we didn't reposition the cursor position, every single time we have an extra line break. So that solves that. Alright, so let me try this. So what is going on? So the following area we go right now. And that's the condition we want to have because we want to be able to go past that works. Second column is as soon as we do an up or down arrow, we should say should be up here. Current character is the minimum of the document. Up and down. Now moving the way I would expect it to. More perfect. Alright, so this one is looking good. Now we have handle home end. Left, right, up, down. Yeah, we should probably handle tab. Instead of inserting a tab. Spaces. The reason being that not that I have to make spaces, I mean indeed, but this one has more to do with the fact that if you have tabs, you would have to do some crazy counting on the screen in order to get that the right vicinity. So how many spaces do we have to insert? So let me first get where we are. So we have the view. We'll start with view. Character. Honestly, so effectively you want to say there is very little hope in this. Two. I am an idiot. First, you also have to say new current character equals okay. All right, that seems to work. So that's nice. And I think we handle Control Enter. What can I say at this point? Maybe it's not the mic. Maybe it is just the. Let me try one thing really quick. So does this fix the problem? So according to the audio indicator, we want to handle escape for clearing Let's try one more thing. All right. I've just restarted the audio device. Maybe that fixes it. As I said, I suspect that there is something fishy going on with my machine right now, but we'll see. All right, escape. Handle escape. So basically what that would be is you would say document for view current line. We would say this one would be string empty, and we would say view current character is 0. All right, that fixes that. So now we also handle escape. So maybe the only thing we need to now handle is page up, page down. I think those are the ones we really need. which is basically our history, right? So one thing we probably want to do is private string list of string. Let's call this submission history. Yeah. And then maybe we should do one more. We should add a protected method here. Let's call this page up, page up, and let's call this page down. So so submission index is 0. How do you want this to work? So when I go back one more time, we say var so we want to say seems reasonable, and then we can say current current character would be boom, view current line length. So this will be always at the end of the history item, and then we just say document clear, and then we say document, oh god, var lines is, okay, first of all, var history item is for submission history index, and then we say lines is history item split on environment new line, and then we say oh god, document add, yeah, there's no add range. All right, for each var line in lines, add line, yeah, and then of course we have to say submission history add text, and then we say submission history index is 0. All right, 12 by 12. Oh, that's just great. What just happened? Okay. What happened here? Seems like we got ourselves an infinite loop. Twelve by 12, hit enter. So I go back one, document clear. What? Document clear goes all the way. What is happening? Why would a document clear cause a bunch of lines being outputted? I mean, this one just says render. If line count is 0, interesting. I think I know what the problem is. Yep. Yep. That's fine. Yep, that's also fine. So number of blank lines is 1. Really? Oh. Well, it helps if you actually do the math correct. Okay. Now we can say var result equals 0. For I is 1 to 100. Result equals result plus I. All right. Well, this is the part where we can, interesting. So the history should have cleared this part here. So why is that not happening? So why does this not work? So I'm standing here and doing a backup here. Interesting. So that one seems broken. But the question is why? 12 by 12, blah, blah, blah. Well, let's do it properly. Let's say var result equals 0. Okay, so now up arrow. So we say this one, yep, clear. So where is my render? Here's my render. So I go up 1. So the rendered line count is 3. Okay. Number of blank lines is 3. Number of blank lines is we should probably do the exact same thing here. We say this would be cursor top plus line count screw it. Var I equals 0. I is less than number of blank lines. Well, I plus plus. Then we say this is plus line count plus I. Here we go. All right. That is where we want it to be. Pretty slick, I would say. And it's actually, the code is actually not horrible. At least it's better than what I used to have. So we handle page up, page down. Yeah, the only other thing that I think I would like to handle, just for shits and giggles, is if we go to our render method here. Let's call this action string line renderer. Oops, line renderer. And then instead of doing this, we say line renderer. And then we add a virtual function here. Where is this? Protected virtual void render line string line, and then we just say console write line, and then here we just say this is render line. And then basically in our Minsk version of this guy, we say protected override void render line, and then we say syntax tokens is syntax tree parse tokens for line, and then we just say for each var token in tokens we say console write token dot text, and then we can say if token kind equals syntax kind, let's say, well, var is keyword, token kind toString ends with keyword. Then we say console for foreground color is console color blue, let's say. Else if is how do you say, is operator is token, what do we have? Syntax kind number, I guess is number. Let me say well, I guess if it's not a number, then we say it's dark gray, let's say. And then we say console reset color. Something like that. And it should give us colorization. And it actually does. Let x equals 100. Sweet. I like it. I like it. Let's see what ends up happening. So we say this works. Let me say var result equals 0, for I equals 1 to 100, result equals result plus 1. Yeah, plus 1. Let me say result. Okay, we don't like that. We wanted plus I. Yeah, so that is almost good, except that we just overrode part of that. So we probably have to set the cursor position at the end before we do anything other crazy shit, which makes sense. And then the only other thing I think I want to do is I want to be able to insert line, and I want to be able to merge a line. And then I think we're done. All right, so what would I just say? So I want to fix the output first. So basically, before we return, we should say view current line should be document count -1. Current character should be document current line length. So that should mean that if I say var result equals 10, and then I go here, hit enter, then we're still, yep, we're putting ourselves past that. All right, so this fixes that problem. Now let's talk about inserting a blank line. So currently we always insert the line at the end, which we don't want. So basically what we say is var line index is view current line, and then we should say insert line index plus 1 . Right? Does that sound right? Okay. Let's say this is 1 plus 2 plus 3. And now I go here, hit enter. Okay, bad example. 1 plus 2 plus, and now I go in here, do an enter. Then it's actually doing what I think it does. So I can say plus 3. And then if I do a control enter here, it submits. Interesting. So control enter forces to submit. Is that what I want? I guess. I guess what I really want is I want to have a way to say I want to force the insertion of a line. That makes more sense to me. Insert line. And let me say this is the same as this one, insert line. Well, clearly for documented view. So this way, no matter where you are, now I can say I want to insert a line here, call this 2, 3, 1. Here we go. All right. This is handling inserting a line. Now let's talk about merging a line. That is basically the backspace scenario. So what ends up happening when we are at the beginning of it? Well, in that case, we want to say let's do this maybe, so we don't have to fight over variables. And we say current line is view current line, document, view current line, previous line. So if view current line is 0, then we say return. Right? Otherwise, we say, well, we have a previous line, so it's this one. And then we can just say remove at view current line, say document, and then we say view current line minus minus, and then we say document is previous line plus current line. And then we say view current character is previous line dot length. Does that work? So we say var result equals 10. And then I can say something else. I'm gonna hit one more time, then I'm ending up here. Oh yeah, and now of course the equivalent would be Control Enter, but that doesn't work because we don't handle that part. Okay, that one is fine. Now let's go back to the enter case and say insert line. So we would have to say remainder on that line. So we would say var remainder is document view current line substring for view current character. Right? Does that sound right? That result equals 10. Something else. Sort of. Yes, and we also have to delete it from the previous line, of course. So we would have to say that is substring 0 until the character. That result equals 10. Something else, we go back, we insert, we go back, we insert. All right, so that one seems to be roughly what we would like. All right. I think that's good enough for me. All right, guys, I think that's it for today. So what we have done today is we have changed our REPL implementation. Actually, there's one more thing I want to do, probably. So what was it again? Here. Is this one? No, it's this one. So of course you want to commit, right? What am I thinking? Git status, where are we? Improve our REPL. The REPL now supports editing, supports multi-line editing, syntax colorization, and history. Bum, bum, bum. Ba-da-da-da-da. Let's call this episode 9. Labels episode. Much better. All right. Aha, so now what we've done today is we have improved our REPL. So now we can actually edit multiple lines, we have history, so we can actually do something in the same way. And we also get some basic syntax highlighting, which means that we can actually look at the screen and see keywords being keywords, operators being operators, and that makes it probably much easier for us to actually see what's going on. And then the other thing is we can now actually fix typos. In the past when I had multi-line edits, I very often had to type the whole thing twice because I messed up in the middle somewhere. Now these things are hopefully issues of the past. So next week I will focus on adding function support because so far our language is just one big blob. And once we have functions, we can actually start doing some more interesting stuff. Like, for example, actually writing programs and dealing with recursion and many other fun topics. And then eventually we will also be able to generate code. All right, guys, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and then hopefully I see you guys next week. Bye-bye.